Paulino, hi. Thanks for being here. I hear you had an amazing session about AI. It changed everyone's life. I'm really excited to learn about it. Before we jump into it, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Alex Abernathy. I'm Executive Vice President of Marketing at Asset Living. I've been actually with Asset Living for 14 years, but in the industry for
14 years.
a little over 16 years now. I get the pleasure and honor to be able to oversee a team of about 75 marketers at the Asset Living side, focused primarily on multifamily, which ranges from anywhere from, Class A market rate to affordable build to rent. And then we do have a large student component as well.
Gosh, I was hoping to get someone more qualified for this podcast.
Well, that's going to be a hard one to follow there. Daniel Paulino with Bizzuto, VP of Digital Marketing. I've been in the industry only 4 years. So
Only 4 years?
Only 4 years.
Feels like a lifetime. I think I've known you for almost all 4 of them.
Well, because started off with the pandemic and, it's been a journey, right? But yes, just really honored to be in the industry and obviously with Bizzuto, lifelong marketer, career-long marketer, but first role in the industry, learning every day. But I love it, and I love just how much innovation is happening now. Bizzuto is nationwide now. We are coast to coast, and we have just over 100,000 units, mostly Class A, and continuing to grow and expand, especially out west.
Been a fangirl over the Bizzuto brand for a lot of years. I remember watching Kelly Shannon speak at an AIM conference, and it changed my life. But I'm very excited to talk to you, and I hope that now that you're here, 4 years in, you're never leaving. Because you just can't. Like, where's there to go?
I found my home at this point.
Yeah.
There's no leaving, right?
You have to make new friends.
Yeah.
God.
It would just, I would miss it too much.
Yeah. So I hear you guys did a 3-hour AI summit that was incredible. I'm not going to give you 3 hours to talk. Can you give me like the SparkNotes version of high level? What are some of the main points that you talked about?
Yeah, we had a great session yesterday. I was very impressed by the turnout that we had. We probably had 50 people in the room for 3 hours, and then we had a good number of people that came in and out through the different breaks of the session. SparkNotes high level, we reviewed everything of where AI has come on a global standpoint, where we've seen it evolve in the multifamily space, and really what utilization there is in AI for our industry. It was really collaborative. We had great participation in the room. We're able to hear a lot of stories about what people are using it now for, what people are exploring. Daniel went in depth on kind of what the future of AI looks like for our industry, some really cool products that are on the verge of kind of hitting the market. And, overall, how can we drive more efficiency for our teams, our on-site staffs, our communities, and really elevate that lifestyle and service that we provide?
Yeah, the AI has changed my life. And people ask me all the time, like, oh, are you worried about AI taking your jobs? I'm like, yeah, I'm worried about taking all the jobs that I don't want to do. So I can do the jobs I do want to do.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, I like the saying that you don't have to worry about losing your job to AI. You need to worry about losing it to someone that's using AI.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So what else did you guys talk about?
So, as Alex mentioned, it's really just about where we're at now. So, everybody's obviously familiar and has been using for at least a year now, ChatGPT, Midjourney. So those are great tools and they certainly have their place. I would say obviously use those as much as you can. I think one of the challenges with those is that those live outside of your tech stack, right? So they're in the cloud. As great as they are, they're not embedded into any multifamily technologies. So really what we're starting to see now is where really good tech companies in multifamily are starting to, whether they've released it already or whether it's in their lab and they're testing it and going to release soon, they're embedding some of these technologies within their products, which I think just makes the efficiency gains much more significant. Workflow, heavy improvement in workflow. And one of the bigger things too is really just around controlling the output. So if you're embedding these technologies within a multifamily application, you can be much more sure that the outputs are relevant to multifamily, that you're still going to need human intervention to look at it, but much more controlled. which I think is a great thing because some of these tools, as you know, we've heard of AI hallucinations and whatever
Yeah, I've
else.
experienced AI
Yes,
hallucinations on
yes.
multiple occasions.
And it's pretty
Where'd that
convincing.
book
I
come
think this
from?
looks like it's true. It's almost like
Yeah.
I think I should believe it, but I'm not sure. So when you have it embedded into in an application that and it's trained on many previous conversations, even like real human to real prospect or human to actual resident, when it's trained on those kind of conversations as its data set, then you can be much more sure that what it's going to output is relevant and is useful.
Where do you see like low hanging fruit in the renter journey, AI coming in and just like, this is table stakes. We use AI for this now.
Wow, there could be so many, to be honest with you. I think the most immediate for us, where we know in our research, there's the most friction and is an extremely important moment in time is really the move-in experience, right? It's a stressful experience. There's so much to do, so many different pieces to put together. And when you can make a difference as the company that, you know, the resident's doing business with, when you can make a difference, it's very impactful, right? It removes that friction that is such a defining moment. And why not AI? I mean, there's just a bunch of different data points, right? And it can be easily streamlined and it can make a big impact.
Yeah, and move-in experience is incredibly important. Kingsley just released some new data. It's like 79% of residents who are satisfied at move-in remain satisfied through renewal. So it's a churn prevention play to focus on move-ins. Yeah. Awesome. What do you think? Where do you think AI is going to be embedded in your tech stack?
What we're using it for today is really to just better organize the time spent on site from a leasing staff standpoint. You know, I think that we as marketers, our job is to drive demand for our communities. Sometimes that's the right demand, and sometimes it's not the right demand, unfortunately. But where we see AI coming into play in that renter journey is just being able to pre-qualify our leads, being able to organize our leads for our leasing teams so that we know that they spend their time efficiently. They're not chasing down leads that aren't necessarily going to convert or have a high probability of move-in. You know, being able to focus in on what our true priority is to be able to move the needle on site has been a huge benefit for us. Outside of the renter journey, as a marketer in the multifamily space, like we have to be generalists. We have to kind of understand the full picture in the full scope of things. And there are so many efficiencies on the AI front that they've brought to us. And it's not just exclusive to multifamily, but it's really globally, where now our generalist marketers can be photo editors. They can be photo creators. There's a huge creative component to it. That they can leverage to just be able to wear multiple hats in a way more efficient manner than, you know, ever before.
Changed my life. The day that my free version of ChatGPT was down because it was like in beta, I started paying for the $20 one and I've never looked back. If it went away, I'd have like a crisis, I think, because I took on too many jobs.
It has absolutely become, you know, a utility that everyone is leveraging
Yeah,
now.
I mean, when's the last time you wrote a first draft of anything?
It's been a long time, I could tell you that. No, our entire presentation yesterday was generated by AI, so we really didn't put any work into it at all.
You know, I'd be disappointed if it wasn't. So
Yeah.
because then you can say, look what you can do with it.
Well, it's funny because we see, you know, our COO on our student side. She's been in the industry for almost 40 years. She's been with Asset Living for over 30 years. A year ago, she was using ChatGPT for everything. And, you know, it's not just being super tech savvy. It's something that has become way more approachable for all, which I think's driven the adoption and penetration kind of globally and in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be careful. There's hallucinations but every day I'm learning new ways to use it. Have you heard of Multifamily GPT, Cole McIntosh built?
I think I heard about it on like on a webinar that I was on, maybe. I don't know a lot
I
about
interviewed
it,
him for the
but I
job.
do know that there's a GPT version that is for recruiting within multifamily.
Who built that?
I fail to remember the name at this point,
I'm
but
gonna look it up.
yeah, to be honest with you, I don't recall. I was on a webinar about a month ago. They were talking about that and showing some of the use cases for recruiting, specifically roles that are really difficult now, like maintenance. And so just having like a AI driven, GPT driven chatbot on recruiting websites for PMCs. So
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you said earlier as a marketer, like in driving leads to your team. There's a major, I don't know if it's a trend. I think we're all getting our act together, but in the B2B world, on the renter side, I've been a multifamily marketer too in the past. Our KPIs are tied to leads, like marketing qualified leads, sending leads to salespeople, sending leads to leasing teams. But there's so much more focus on quality and like not driving leads, but driving revenue to the business. And using AI to pre-qualify is huge. I was talking to Apartment List yesterday about different and like what they're doing.
yeah,
It's needed.
it's a fascinating use case for it. Absolutely, right? Because that's so much of where the inefficiencies are in our spend, and really just even having insights on beyond just where are prospects converting, what's getting us the most efficient cost per lead. At this point, that's table stakes. And we've been doing that for years. It has been challenging, but where I think this is going is really having even greater insight and not just looking at overall results, like what was cost per lead, cost per lease, but actually looking at a couple of things. One, like what sources are people coming from that convert for specific units or price points, right? What does that attribution, multi-touch attribution journey look like? Because that's what tells the whole story. It's not just where they converted. And we know in this industry, all too common for a property website to be the source where the conversion came from. And we know that that's not really
No.
the full story, correct? So if you can look into that and see, oh, the journey for a 2-bedroom just happens to look different than a 1-bedroom, right? It may or may not, but having that level of insight can really help you to understand how to optimize your spend. So if we have exposure in a market on 3-bedroom apartments, and we can see that there's been a trend over the past couple of years that those converters for that type of unit tends to come from a specific campaign or series of channels, that's a really helpful input so that we know how to get conversion for those units as quickly as possible.
So you're having AI analyze large data sets.
Yes.
You don't have to name any names, but you're taking your data and putting it into an AI. How do you verify that data is safe?
So at this point, I would say this is a testing ground. Like we're testing this. This is not something that I'm saying we're using just yet. We've got to build the infrastructure. So when we know that we have these hypotheses around what AI will be able to do in the future and how using that will change the way that we do business and the value that we provide to our clients. With that vision in mind, you start to build the foundations. So I always say it's like a currency that I don't yet know how to spend, but I know I just need to save it. And one day I'll figure out. So we're in that part of the journey. We're not in the let's spend it and we know exactly how to use this, but we realize that the data points is what fuels AI, right? The reason that ChatGPT was so groundbreaking is that it was essentially trained on, you can say,
The
all
entire
of
internet.
human knowledge,
Yeah.
pretty much, right? That sounds impossible, but that's essentially why it's so useful. So the more data is the fuel, is the currency for AI. So we realize that that's really what we have to work on. Yes, we may not know exactly, we may not be at that point where it's just like doing groundbreaking things for our media strategy, but we know that we need to put all the foundational pieces in to get to that point. And so that's the part of the journey that we're at. And it's an exciting part of the journey. It's challenging, but I would say it's really fueled by trying to aggregate all of your data. And that's one of the challenges in multifamily is we don't have a shortage of data. That's not the issue. The issue is that it's not easily accessible and it's not all in one repository. So when you have data all over, and we all know that all of us in multifamily generally are under-resourced from a human resource standpoint. So we have to really figure out how to unlock all of that without needing people to just go and pull it from all the different silos that it's in.
So there's a lot of different technology in this industry that's purpose built for multifamily, and everyone's implementing AI into their software. There's like a sign that says AI with behind you. How are you evaluating all these different options?
That is a really good question. Some of the things that we talked about yesterday in the workshop, you have to define the problem first, really set your objective. And one thing I cautioned the audience and I caution everybody I talk to about, on this subject is don't try to solve a problem that doesn't exist.
That's fair.
I think that there's this craze and this rush into the AI space currently that people just want to implement AI. And there's obviously a use case for it in a lot of cases, but there's also arguably not a use case for it in many cases. And so being able to define that objective and really identify where there is truly a problem that needs to be solved is kind of step one. Daniel brought some interesting perspective and kind of talked about how Bozzuto does their vendor procurement and who their partners are that they work with. And, I very much agree with it and align with it. When you're looking at a solution, you want to look at kind of all of your options. You don't want to necessarily pigeonhole yourself to just multifamily. It's almost like if someone's been doing this for 3 years, that's probably longer than they've been doing it in the multifamily space. So, align yourselves with the experts, but also make sure that they understand your industry and understand, what your objective is and what you're trying to solve. But I think we get, as marketers in the multifamily space, we kind of have our blinders on, and we think that the only solutions exist here in the multifamily space with multifamily specific vendors
for us. Yeah.
However, there's a greater world out there
for sure.
that you can explore. There's a lot of questions around governance right now. And, to your previous question, where's your data going? Is it protected, or is it something that's going to become publicly available one day? So you want to be cautious as to who you're aligning with, how they're treating your data. And, we have a responsibility to protect the data of our consumers, of our residents as well. And so we've got to be hypersensitive about that.
Those are great points. I would add to that what I always say is really look internally first. Like, where are my pain points? What do I need to solve for? As opposed to being focused on a solution. Solution is, I'm looking externally. There's really neat tools. There's new developments. How can I fit that into my tech stack, right? The reason I always say look internal first is you only have limited amount of time and resources. So we have to really figure out where is the most friction internally from an operational standpoint, or where are we the most inefficient? And that's where you're going to focus your time for the next year or a quarter or whatever it may be. Then you start to look externally, right? So we've now identified the problem. We have alignment around that problem. We've prioritized it as one of the things that we really want to solve for. Now it makes bringing in a technology solution a much more focused process, as opposed to it's the flashiest vendor, the trend that everybody's talking about, because then you're maybe in the situation where you're trying to fit the square peg in the round hole, right? And that can work, but I think that has a lasting impact in your company when you focus on implementing solutions in that manner, because then you can be looked at as that's the person that's always chasing the newest stuff, right? And it's not so much about impact. They're more focused on getting things done that may not actually have a big impact. Like you said, what are we really trying to solve for, right?
Something your colleague Jenna said when we talked is we can do anything, but we can't do everything.
That's right. That's right.
Something to live by.
It's a great model, because that's really realizing that, hey, we're capable, we're passionate, we can do a lot of things, but we are also stewards of the company's time and also the company's reputation and how we serve the marketplace. So we're focused on making customers' experience better all the time. Then you will find the right technology solution, the right AI solution that will help for that problem that you're so passionate about solving. So that's why I say you always really think about what's the business impact, not what's the neatest tool, right? So
I know you just said that, but let's wrap up with what you think is really exciting or what you're interested in exploring for personally as a marketer or for your business.
So I think there's two things that I'm really excited about and I think are critical problems for companies in this space to solve for. One is we know with the end of third-party cookies, there's a trend towards first-party data, zero-party data. While we won't go into all the nuances of that today, what I will say is that really having all of that data on your clients, on your prospects, all housed in one location that you can leverage all these advanced technologies to improve the way that you serve your prospects, that you serve your residents. That's critical. And no one's completely figured that out yet. We're still in the early days of it, but I would say that that's something that everybody should be focused on is how do I aggregate all of that data? If you can't aggregate it, it's of no value to you, right? Or it's not going to be as valuable to you as your competitor who is aggregating it and now can really think much more cohesively about providing amazing customer experiences. The next thing I would say is I'm really interested in just this momentum towards providing a cohesive experience across your physical, assets, and also just your digital ecosystem. That I think it's in its early days, and what happens too much in our industry is there's so many apps. You have tons of apps. As a resident, you have all kinds of apps that will help you engage with your community or open doors, et cetera, but it's very disjointed. It's not one ecosystem. So what I'm excited about is developments in the industry, moving us towards, yes, we may have very complicated tech stacks, especially third party. We don't have consistent tech stacks from one community to the next. But how can we use technology to provide a consistent experience to the residents, even when the tech stack from one building to the next is completely different? That, I think, is a big differentiator. It's something that we need in this industry, and we experience as consumers today with whether it's a hotel chain that you're loyal to or an airline. You have one ecosystem. It's on their desktop app, or desktop on their website, or it's on the app. But they're not asking you to go to download a different app to check where your luggage is, or to cancel your flight, or you're not having to download a bunch of different apps, and that's what we do in this industry. And what that causes then is that it's all about the widget. It's all about the app. It's not about a consistent experience. And a consistent experience that's really well thought out, I think, can be a big differentiator that no one's really tapped into. So I'm really interested to see where that goes.
Not to quote your colleague Jenna Miller again, but she also said, I want to make moving out of a Bozzuto community hurt. Yes. I want to make it hurt so bad that you only live at Bozzuto community.
And so,
because there's so much friction everywhere else, but Bozzuto's got it down.
That's right. And so we've been focused on that for decades, from a experience living with us at our communities, and the way that the hospitality that you experience from all of our team members that you come across, whether they're the property manager, maintenance, et cetera, right? So what we're looking to do now, and that's always been a North Star for us, is make that experience so good that people don't want to live anywhere else. I think we can amplify that and add rocket fuel to that if you also have a digital ecosystem that is just as seamless, that is so cohesive. Think about, I gave this example yesterday, like iOS. What's amazing about iOS is everything you're doing in it on your iPhone is really, there's continuity between the apps. Like when you take a photo and you're about to go share it, it knows who you just most recently were sharing things with, right? It knows what apps you were engaging with. And there's just so much magic in that ecosystem. Your phone will unlock, your watch will unlock your phone, or there's continuity between your desktop and your iPhone. And that's really where we need to get to in multifamily. If you can have that continuity between the physical and the digital, that's game changing. That really will add even more friction to, I don't want to leave this company because I'm going to miss out on too much.
Well, that was an incredible summary. Hard to follow that, but I can add on to it a little bit. What we're trying to figure out at Asset Living is what can we do with all of our data. And so we've made a significant investment of time, money, resources into just building essentially a data warehouse and BI tool that we're in the process of trying to layer AI into so that we can give more transparency to our team members so that they can focus their time on what's most important and what's most impactful for our resident experience and property performance. In where I see this going and what I'm most excited about is just understanding how certain triggers can lead to certain outcomes in the renter experience.